more. Ambazonia, land of freedom, usually reflects immense in our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation. Ambazonia, land of freedom, usually reflects immense in our need. And your children shall be like the stars above. The Most High God being the watchman of this nation.
The Reverend Father Gerald Jumbam, he's coming via Zoom and coming in from Rome. He will be the next speaker that we have. Thank you, Father. You have the floor.
All right. That total independence is possible is the air we breathe in today in the British Southern Cameroons. But make no mistake, it doesn't happen by doing nothing. We must seek ways now to speak out, especially on those subjects they think we are ignorant about. One of them is peace, and that is why I have engaged on it in this presentation. We are blessed to grow up in the Southern Cameroons and to watch the discipline of revolution reveal to us, Ambazonia's children, for the first time our true potential, our yesness to each other, and our power for good when we work attentively together. And I hold this. I am a Southern Cameroonian by virtue of my belief in its independence. And if I am asked why I believe in its independence, I answer that it is because I believe in myself. For I feel it is impossible to believe in my existence without also believing in the sacredness and inviolability of the land of my birth, a land created, sanctified, and offered to our ancestors to till and pass on to us for our sustenance and existence. May I say what a great pleasure it is to take part in the International Conference on Peace and Justice, marking the 60th anniversary of the decolonization process of the British Southern Cameroons, here in the University of Massachusetts, USA. I am glad that conversations on the Southern Cameroons predicament that I am so personally involved are not only flourishing, but extending their tentacles to areas never before imagined. And I am delighted that the reach of a so important event has been extended beyond our shores to take an international magnitude. The topic of this presentation is Peace is Liberation. Peace is liberation. The two Bible verses that have inspired and energized the whole of this presentation is from the prophet Jeremiah, chapter 8, verses 10 to 12. They dress the wound of my people as though it were not serious. Peace, peace, they say, when there is no peace. Are they ashamed of their detestable conduct? No, they have no shame at all. Jeremiah chapter 8, verses 10 to 12. Dear brothers and sisters, we live in a world baptized in self-interest and dedicated to brute force and exploitation. What is the freedom fighter's stance in a world so badly beaten by oppression? What giant weapon does he need to conquer fear and keep the fires of freedom alive? In the moral and spiritual sphere, The Sermon on the Mount is the light and guide. Some time ago, when I went to that great defining sermon of Jesus Christ, I was fond of the blessed are those who hunger and thirst for justice, which I delightedly wrote about, and I am happy at so doing. Today, at this pertinent time, the blessed are the peacemakers is calling me to talk about it. Peace. I recall that in 1993, the Israeli Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin signed a peace treaty with Yasser Arafat and the Palestinian Liberation Organization. When someone asked how he could sign a treaty with the people who had been the mortal enemies of Israel, Prime Minister Rabin replied, "You don't make peace with your friends, only with your enemies." Many of his own countrymen sharply disagreed with his actions, and shortly after that, the Prime Minister was assassinated. Not by an Arab or a Palestinian, but an Israeli, an Orthodox Jew, who thought by shooting Mr. Rabin in the back, he was doing God's work. I have come, or rather I have not come here to do it the Prime Minister Rabin way, which could earn me the decapitation of my head, for our people are dead set on winning victory and independence, the Southern Cameroon's peoples. I have come here not as an advocate of platitudes and useless chanting about a peace that is external and that has only something to do with the victory of the oppressor. My peace is peace for the oppressed people, the peace Jesus Christ preached, not to secure Herod in his throne of glory, but the peace that challenges the tyrant Herods of this world in the go tell that old fox posture. They dress the wound of my people as though it were not serious. Peace, peace, they say, when there is no peace. Are they ashamed of their detestable conduct? No, they have no shame at all. Jeremiah chapter 8, verse 10 to 12. Peace is a biblical theme. The word peace occurs over 400 times. The first message of the angels from heaven when Jesus was born was a canticle on peace. Peace on earth, goodwill towards men. After the resurrection, Jesus appeared to the apostles to embolden them with, "Peace I leave with you, my peace I give you." Then Paul himself says that Christ is our peace. But that's only one side of the biblical story. And no man or woman can tame the Bible to suit his own whims and caprices. So peace can appear in its hundreds in the Bible, but justice is in its thousands. For in the example of the author of the book of Ecclesiastes, in its 3rd chapter, there is time for war and a time for peace. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 8. There is a time for everything, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to cheer and a time to mend, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. We bite our nails on a genocide that has claimed thousands of innocent human lives and has displaced millions and a genocide that is still roaring. About genocide and those who cooperate in blind obedience to culprits of these atrocious acts. Orders commanding such actions are criminal, and blind obedience cannot excuse those who yield to them. The most infamous among these are actions designed for the methodical extermination of an entire people, nation, or ethnic minority. The life of man and woman begins in the book of Genesis, accompanied by complete peace, absolute peace. The father of lies, Satan, then visits them and tragedy begins. There was perfect peace in Eden. Then the master of lies comes in and tells a lie to Adam and Eve, and immediately the peace disappears. Lying, therefore, is the antithesis of peace. It has devastated entire nations because it is the willful twisting of facts that has caused the exploitation and massacre of entire peoples. Think of the anthropological lie in the 15th century that questions the humanity of the African. It is this lie that eased the taking away of the flower of African manhood in their millions to America and European plantations. The most dangerous enemy of peace is lies. Fellow countrymen and women, we are in a storm. The furious type witnessed on the boat by the apostles and Jesus Christ. When it came to securing from the danger that they faced, Peter prayed for safety from danger, but was sinking deeper and deeper. He pleaded for the calming of an external storm. He prayed for peace at all price. He begged for peace without war. But then Jesus Christ gave him another choice of peace even in war, of peace even when the storm thunders. It is the storm within which endangers Peter, not the storm in the sea. So peace is a thing of the heart, a thing of the interior man, not mechanical external peace that serves only dictators and oppressors. Peace is completeness. It is the insight to know you are complete. You are you. And if you expect another person to complete or make you happy, you are chasing shadows. You have been told lies that you need a philosophy, you need a theology, you need a science, you need a literature that will complete you. Just like your geography is capable of satisfying your human and spiritual longings, you are complete in all other aspects of your life. Peace is our word. And listen to me keenly when I talk peace. Peace, I repeat, is our word. It is the word of the hoi polloi, the masses, the suffering, the afflicted. It is their aspirations, their hope, their entire destiny. Happy are the peacemakers. Jesus Christ thought about these things. He thought of this when he said these words. Peace should never frighten anyone because genuine apostles of peace in this world have always been on the side of the oppressed, the poor people. Peace is the listening with the eyes and the ears, the heart and the brain. It is soul that knows its dignity. Peace is a creative force. It is a magnanimity of heart. It is enlargement of the mind. Peace is silent courage. It is courage to sit down and listen. It is courage to allow a bully, a murderer, a tyrant to have room to speak and to give him or her room to speak and we listen. It is not impressed by long talk, titles, power, money. Peace is impressed by bravery, blessedness, beauty, bliss. Peace is to cease to let fear control you. It is a weapon against fear of man. It fears no one because the Prince of Peace, Jesus Christ, feared not even the omnipotent Pontius Pilate. Peace is Moses talking liberation to panic-stricken Israel. And Moses said, "Fear not." He says, "Stand firm and see the salvation of the Lord, which he will work for you today. For the Egyptians whom you see today, you shall see them. You shall never see again. The Lord will fight for you, and you shall hold your peace." No one should fear peace. Peace is a challenging term today, and bullies have tyrannized on it. But peace is a matter of one's system of reality. Paul Beer sees peace not in the way my grandmother afflicted in exile sees it. The colonial master's peace is the peace of the jungle, is the maintenance of order, possibly by brute force. The suffering oppressed Ambazonian's peace is history. It is protest. It is talking truth to power. It is negotiation. It is sitting at a table openly on equal terms. Only human beings talk peace. For if you see me as humbug and chaff, my peace will come to you as arrogance. I love mad people. People who are mad to live, mad to be free, mad to fight for their rights. People who burn, who are on fire for a cause. Such people are people. They are people of peace. They are champions of peace in that worldview of the victim. The most potent artillery of a man of peace is patience and time. But God first, because without God, there is no waiting. There is no ticking of the clock. We live in a southern Cameroons, teetering close to the brink. When our people rose to the occasion in 2017 and engaged in the resistance that we have not seen in the whole history of our nation, little did we know it will stretch till today. In 2021, the crisis unquestionably is in its crossroads. Yet, no significant accomplishment was ever achieved without the commanding power of the light of peace, having to subdue the pompous ego, to overpower the poison of hate, to extinguish the thirst for tit for tat, especially when it concerns the freedom fighters themselves, among themselves. Mount Fako, our blessed mountain, has its greatest peace on the summit. That is what happens to human beings when they seek to achieve peace accomplishments. He who remains at the middle enjoys not this peace. Martin Luther King Jr. enjoyed in the USA the greatest peace of heart because he saw the end of the tunnel, the heavens, the paradise in that faithful last speech he said he had climbed the mountaintop. There, he did not care anymore. There he was ready for martyrdom. There he heard voices seeking to hunt him down. But there, God told him, "I bring you peace. My peace I give you. Fear not, Martin. Go on." Gentlemen, great afflictions are also great gifts, if accepted with a cheerful heart. For God turns the tables and brings blessings where there were abominations. The human spirit is such that it cannot be confined for long. It surges gradually but surely finding areas left undiscovered by generations, especially when challenged by oppressive and imprisoning times. Lock him up and lock the cell. If the man is active and dynamic, if he is aware of his humanity, he would find a way to detonate something and rescue himself from the debilitating conditions that have been imposed on him. Peace, a frightful word, which means the space everyone occupies, the historical position God has endowed you with me, and which you must protect. For every man or woman has a right to this God's world. It is a moment in history I have, you have. Ours is this moment. We have only little time, and peace comes at that concept in mind, where you do everything to keep your space yours on this earth. Evidently, at the end of our lives, God will ask each one of us the question, what did you do for your brother? The people of the Cameroon Republic are our brothers, just as Nigerians in the other side are our brothers. We are African brothers and sisters. We have been brothers for about 60 years, just like we were brothers with Nigeria for about 45. So it is not complicated to understand that brothers who have grown together for years can part ways but still remain brothers. So we pray for peace among our people. Not that we have to live together always in one strict and burdensome and roguish, one and indivisible Cameroon, but as brothers living apart in independent, self-reliant homes. In the flow of time, we have had gifted scholars whose literary artistry have applied exceptional biblical exegesis to our predicament and come out with the noblest scriptural interpretation of our present situation. I am talking about the legendary Victor Opiengome, who in his prophetic play, What God Has Put Asunder, brilliantly echoed where we stand today. Therefore, when Opiengome revolutionarily chants, what God has put asunder, we, the freedom fighters of the Enough is Enough generation, respond in a resounding chorus. No man should put together. And these words apply to the whole subject of Christianity's involvement in the solution to the Southern Cameroon's problem. We may please ourselves for a time with such justifications for our faults as a wicked cleverness provides. But there is God, who is master of the universe, and truth himself, who will judge you and me, not separately, but in the same way, because we had tools to liberate our people, and we refused to do so. Assuredly, it is high time we wake up from sleep and chase this night that attacks our judgment. There is no greater error, certainly, than to suppose that authentic peace damages justice. Indeed, the realization of justice with a brilliance of peaceful means is a gift inferior only to that of genuine justice itself. The true path to our liberation is to ram it deep in, to let it sink into our hearts and minds that it is better to die on our feet, standing, than live on our knees. I believe that human life is so sacred that it is insane to give it out for whatever national reason. The key role of any veritable state is the protection of life and of creating standards of living worthy of the citizens of this earth. So there is nothing sweet nor fitting in your dying for nationalism. We should work out the justice of our cause through peaceful confrontations. And when evil oppressive forces attack us and painfully push us to a self-defense wall of no retreat, no surrender. And we have to fight back. There is a way of combating evil with few damages and limiting aimless risks inflicted on our people and the butchering people like so much cows in slaughterhouses. Peace is in truth. And whenever men and women are enlightened by the splendor of truth, they naturally set out on the path of peace. The human race will not win in building a truly more human world for anyone everywhere on earth unless all people are renewed in spirit and converted to truth of peace. The truth of peace. It simply means that peace is not the absence of war. It means that peace is a heavenly thing. It is rooted in the fact that peace is divine because peace is truth, since it is animated by the power of the one and only Prince of Peace, who is Christ, the way, the truth, and the life. Therefore, peace has an intrinsic and invincible truth of its own and corresponds to an irrepressible yearning and hope dwelling within us. Peace is more an inner thing. This means the substance of our independence is not seen merely through the lenses of mere human logic. It is the tension between belief and history, imagination and reality that brings us to the realization of this bond of a people so complete in clamoring for independence. The Southern Cameroons has been long enough in international consciousness to back us up in dealing with it as a concrete fact in the world's history. The argument for the independence of that territory is potent because there is the consultation of history for the true idea of their sovereignty. It is that view of history which works on facts, unrelenting truths, and convictions that no water on earth can sweep away. So the truth about a thing like the Southern Cameroon's autonomy is not even science, least of all or abstract knowledge. It is the conviction of facts born of historical happenings. And when this occurs, men and women are ready to lay down their lives. You can't suck prosperity from people's skeletons and live rich, and you expect the God I know to stand still and allow you to go scot-free with destinies of tribes and continents in your pocket. There is a way those stolen resources are snatched out with time from ignoble purses, and therefore the trouble with humankind's development is not population or overpopulation, as hypercapitalists in their egoism make us think. It is the millions and billions individuals daily snatch from the pockets of destitute ignoramuses the world over. Consequently, liberation means kudos to He who created us. Independence is yes to the call of humanity. It is homage to justice. God is the God of the poor. God is the God of the poor because He did not make man poor. God fights with us when we fight injustice, when we fight oppression. You can't store treasures under soil. You can't pass poor people's suffering ones and go away with millions in purse and cut away people's lands and rot the millions in wasted spending and expect karma to work God's justice unto you. Liberation, Christ-like, is Jesus telling the poor thief on Calvary's hill, "Come and share paradise with me." We are in the business of full independence of our nation. Our people, during these painful times, have given their history an interpretation, an intensity, and a depth that has granted them a mental strength and moral authority enough to face their challenges and critics. It is not true that peace cannot do its work on earth without justice. What is true is that without justice, peace can ultimately only do its work against man. exclusive peace, absolute peace, is blasphemous peace. And I warn that it will not answer this time to bring out soldiers and bomb peace into oppressed people along the target of cruelty and malevolence. For one thing, like any other work of human hands, Ambazonian peace must adapt itself at every turn to the changing times and to its revolutionary spirit. In doing peace in the southern Cameroons, therefore, we must steer clear of two extremes. On the one hand, the colonial arrogance of those political and spiritual leaders of the one and indivisible Cameroon who see every Ambazonian freedom fighter as terror or horror. And on the other hand, the excessively zealous and rather too innocent tendency of some Ambazonians to laud every aspect of the revolution as if we already landed. So we, who have seen this light, must accompany our people as they journey, seeking the good, the true, and the beautiful in the business of self-determination. It is not enough just to talk about peace, just to talk about justice. Otherwise, our words will be empty. We must work hard for the independence of the British Southern Cameroons, evidently by talking about everything. Yes, about peace that does not enslave, peace which emancipates, peace whose truth is not the wanton brute force of an occupying power or the captive barbed wires of colonial domination. This peace begins as an adventure in liberation, takes us to unrelenting self-determination, and will end in the promised land of total independence. Independence or nothing. Thank you.
I wish Father was with us here in the hall to see the standing ovation. So we'll immediately open it up. Okay, I see our first question here from Dr. Emma. And we'll also ask for those on Zoom to please raise your hands or post your questions in the chat forum.
Father, thank you so much. I want to start by saying I made some notes, so my clarity is on point here. You speak to my heart. I just want to say that you are a voice of clarity. If you haven't been told that, I am saying that today. What a moving presentation, Father Jumbam. Thank you so much. Here is my question, which I preface with this few remarks. You are aware that La République is on a peace mission, and ostensibly, they use the clergy, pastors, and imam. We are aware of peace caravans throughout our territory, getting people to stay on their knees praying to God for peace. You're also aware that almost 1 year ago, the Secretary of State for the Vatican, Cardinal Parolin, made a visit to Cameroon and visited the epicenter of the war, Bamenda, and met with the prelate and spoke only of peace. What, in your view, is the church doing to change the dynamics on the ground beyond preaching peace? So I am here to ask, as a priest of the Catholic Church, we know the Vatican has as much power as any other state out there, can be brought to the Vatican to think that it can use its enormous power to influence or bring pressure on La République to change the trajectory of this genocidal war. From your perspective, what can the Catholic Church do, and in general, religious, to move beyond this prayer, as you say, I am, quote, I am not an advocate for platitude. We see the dumbing down through this peace caravans and peace at all costs. And we want to know whether the Vatican really truly believes prayer without action is not dead feet.
Okay, I'd like to thank Dr. Emma for those questions, frank and open questions. That is exactly what we should be doing today, because we are living in the southern Cameroons under a certain shadow, living secretly and doing secret things and not exposing things and talking about the future of our children, the future of our people. There is something which happened some few months ago when the Secretary of State of the Vatican, Cardinal Parolin, visited Cameroon. It was a solemn moment, and we should render immense gratitude to Pope Francis, who did that. It is historic, because even in the long reign of popes, a pope has not been that daring. The presence of Cardinal Parolin was the presence of Pope Francis. Just imagine a pope who hears war somewhere and goes there to go and talk to the people. And I'm sure it was advised in the Vatican that if you go to Cameroon, you must step feet on that troubled land. It was very normal for the Parolin to come and stay in Yaoundé, because that is the capital of the country he's going to. Well, we must remember that the Vatican is a state, and therefore it was visiting Cameroon. And it also had to play its diplomacy. But that they came went right to Bamenda. It is a great thing the Vatican did as a state and as the leader of a church, to meet the people, Pope Francis in particular. When I saw Parolin in Bamenda celebrating Mass there, tears came out of my eyes. Tears came out of my eyes. Not about the fact that he is there, but the fact that an opportunity is given to a suffering people to speak out and to tell their story. Parolin is just a human being. It's just him. He came as a servant of God. It was our own duty now to use that occasion. So if anything failed, it was the Southern Cameroons that failed, not the Vatican. There are many, many voices that come to the Vatican and speak about our situation back home. Remember that we are dealing with two different states. There are bishops who come to the Vatican from the Francophone side. They tell their own story to the Pope. There are bishops of our own side who come to the Vatican. They tell their own story to the Pope. And you obviously just know that there will be conflicting stories. It needs the man of a Pope Francis who has lived such similar realities in South America to decipher, to discern, and to make that generous action of sending his Secretary of State to Bamenda. That is the first thing I will say about that Pope's visit. I consider it a Pope's visit. The next thing I will talk is talking about us, the church. I will centralize on the issue about conscience. All of us formed in seminaries, we know what the truth is. We know what peace is. We know what justice is. We know what truth is. It now remains on the conscience of every priest, every reverend sister, every lay person to work on the things you are convinced of, to work on the truth you know. So there is the general communal church, but there is also the individual and personal church. That when I stand as a priest, as Gerald, Father Gerald, and I speak, I am the church speaking. I'm representing a community, but also it is me, Gerald, because tomorrow, when I stand before the judgment seat of God, God will judge me not as Kumbo, not as Bamenda, not as Boya, but Gerald, Jumbam Nyikongmo. Who are you? It is not titles. God is not a respecter of persons. As St. Peter says, he will judge you. You, Gerald, what did you stand for? That is how I will answer those questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father, for those questions. Calling on Southern Cameroonians and calling on the clergy in particular. Thank you. So are there any more questions here in the hall? I'm checking on the chat. I don't see anyone's on Smarter.
Every good thing must come to an end. Every good day must wrap up. And we are so delighted, so thankful. Today's been inspiring. All of the presentations have been intellectually empowering, and they have been historically and politically inspiring. We are going to continue tomorrow. It's going to be equally informing, equally empowering, more diverse, because tomorrow we're going to have panel discussions. I'm so delighted. I would like to thank our technical team led by Scott Lynch. We invite you to come back tomorrow. We invite you to stay with us through to Saturday. We'll be sharing that barbecue together and singing those freedom songs together. Our MC, I think you're probably the youngest in this room. It gives us delight.
For Boston, let's put our hands together to give an energetic welcome to Jalemi.
Thank you. Thank you very much. My name is Jalemi. I am a very proud Ambazonian. I am a reggae artist from the Republic of Ambazonia.
Yes.
Isn't it wonderful? Yeah. Thank you. And the song I'm going to perform this evening is called Ambazonian People. Thank you. I dedicate this song to all the Ambazonian people who are suffering and dying in the prisons. And the only crime they committed is being honest, fighting for equal right and justice.
Freedom.
Fighting for freedom.
Wow.
I dedicate this song to all the women, Ambazonian women, who are suffering and dying, being raped every single day by Cameroonian soldiers. I dedicate this song to the innocent Ambazonian children who are suffering and dying in the hands of Cameroonian soldiers every single day, and the whole world is watching.
Baby Martha, 4 months old. Mamie Api, La République du Cameroon soldiers.
African Union is watching.
Samsoya.
Gabo 23.
I dedicate this song to the refugees, the Ambazonian refugees, who are suffering and dying from all sorts of illnesses in Nigeria, in Ghana, and across Africa. They did not belong there. They were supposed to be in Ambazonia, living their normal lives. And I dedicate this song to all Ambazonian freedom fighters. Doesn't matter where you are. I have one thing to say. Ambazonia must be free. We must be free.
Free.
Ambazonia will be free.
Yes. Be free.
Thank you.
Live free or die.
Die.
Ambazonian people, we are tired of their torture. We are tired of the beatings and the killings of the Southern Cameroonians. Since
their soldiers to occupy our nation. They're sending all their soldiers, they're raping our women. They're loading all the prisons with Ambazonian people. United Nations, are you really truly watching how they massacre our people? They're burning our houses, they're burning our people. We have been bound like slaves in our own sweet home. Ambazonian people, this is our moment. Ambazonian people, we need to stand up for our freedom. No more killings, our people are dying. No more torture, the children are dying. Ambazonian people, this is our moment. Ambazonian people, we need to stand up for our freedom. Southern Cameroonians, we need to stand up and fight for our freedom. We are truly moving forward. We will never, never look back. Southern Cameroonians, we need to stand up and fight for our freedom. We are truly moving forward. Never, never look back. How come in Africa, African Union is so silent? You're watching all the beatings and the killings of the Southern Cameroonians. It's been a long time. We have been marginalized. American government, why can't you stop these killings? We see the French government promoting this genocide. You specialize in killing our people. So breathing, where are you? From Libya left to Gaza, you're killing our people. Ambazonian people, stand up for your freedom. Ambazonian people, this is our moment. Ambazonian people, we need to stand up for our freedom. No more killings, our people are dying. No more torture, the children are dying. Ambazonian people, this is our moment. Ambazonian people, we need to stand up for our freedom. Together we can build a better nation. Ambazonia. Together we can build a better nation, free from killings. Together we can build a better nation, Ambazonia. Together we can build a better nation, free from corruption. Clearly watching how they massacre our people. They're burning our houses, they're burning our people. We have been born like slaves in our own sweet home.